This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
A report that was prepared by 16 United States intelligence agencies about Iran's nuclear program states that in 2003, Iran suspended its efforts to possess nuclear weapons. However, it also states that Iran will be able to produce nuclear weapons between 2010 and 2015. This report continues to draw reactions in many concerned capitals.
In Tehran,
the Iranian Foreign Minister Monashir Motaki told the Iranian press that it is natural for his country to welcome the report. Now those countries which had questions and inquiries about this issue can correct their views in a realistic manner. The Iranian press covered the issue on its front pages. The public reaction was both welcoming and critical of U.S. policy.
From the beginning, America was wrong in how it has dealt with Iran. They know that it is impossible for Iran to surrender and that the Iranian people support the government. They made a mistake and they have not obtained any results.
In Washington, the White House urged the leading countries to increase pressure on Iran despite the conclusions of the report.
I don't think we were wrong about what it's doing or what its intentions were. Our concern was that they were pursuing a nuclear weapon, and it suggests we have the right strategy: intensify international pressure along with a willingness to negotiate a solution.
International reaction has been mixed between reiterating the positive aspect of negotiations and insisting that Iran is continuing efforts to produce nuclear weapons.
We discussed this report with leaders of the U.S. administration. It's vital to pursue efforts to prevent Iran from developing a capability like this, and we will continue doing so along with our friends, the United States.
The German Foreign Minister, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, said that the U.S. intelligence report reiterates that the strategy of negotiations and pressure, which is being implemented by the international community with Iran, is correct. A spokesman for the British Foreign Ministry said that the report's conclusions justify the action already taken by the international community to get to the bottom of Iran's nuclear program and to increase pressure on the regime to stop its enrichment and reprocessing activities. Hours after Chinese Foreign Minister Yang Jiechi had a phone conversation with his U.S. counterpart, Condoleezza Rice, about the Iranian nuclear program. China said that its position on Iran has remained the same, which is expert efforts to reach a resolution through negotiations. Ramzi Al-Masri, Al Arabiya.
For his part, the Prime Minister of Qatar, Hamid bin Jassim, said that the Gulf Cooperation Council does not have information about Iran's nuclear program other than the information provided by the International Atomic Energy Agency, which confirmed the peaceful use of this program.
We do not have any information other than what was provided by the International Atomic Energy Agency and our brothers in Iran, that this is a peaceful program. We hope that it is a peaceful program. Iran has the right to have a peaceful nuclear program. If there are any misunderstandings about this issue, we have in the past and continue to make efforts to resolve this issue through diplomatic means.
Has probably restarted its nuclear weapons program. That's the view of Defense Minister Ehud Barak, who today contradicted a U.S. intelligence report which said that the Iranian program was frozen in 2003 and remains on hold. Israeli intelligence believes that Iran is still trying to develop nuclear weapons, and Prime Minister Ehud Olmert today urged Washington to continue pushing international sanctions on Tehran. Speaking to reporters during a meeting with visiting Italian Culture Minister Francis Corrutelli, Olmert said that the Iranian nuclear program still poses a threat to Israel.
We heard about the report of the DNI, and while I was in America last week, I had an opportunity to discuss this with the leaders of the United States. According to this report, in the year 2003, there was a military program for the possession of nuclear weapons by Iran, and of course this is something which was a source of serious concern. According to the American attitude, as well as ours, there is a need to continue concerted efforts to stop Iran from acquiring nuclear capacity, and we'll certainly make efforts in this direction.
The new U.S. study entitled National Intelligence Estimate on Iran contradicted earlier U.S. government assessments that Tehran was intent on developing a bomb. Iranian officials today welcomed the new U.S. report and called it an American confession that the Iranian nuclear program is peaceful in nature. Many in Washington believe that the new report could undermine U.S. efforts to convince other world powers to agree to a new package of UN sanctions against Iran.
A new U.S. intelligence report says Iran halted its nuclear weapons program in 2003 and it remains on hold, contradicting the Bush administration's earlier assertion that Tehran was intent on developing a nuclear bomb. CNN said that the report by the U.S. National Intelligence Estimates, NIE, has dropped a bombshell confirming the IAEA report on Iran. The United Nations nuclear watchdog in reaction said the latest U.S. intelligence report on Iran's nuclear weapons program backed up the findings of IAEA inspectors over the past few years. U.S. media, too, have written that the Bush administration had advertently put off the release of the report, which was already way before that of al-Baradei. The New York Times wrote that the U.S. intelligence report on Iran foiled all Bush's bids to rally up international support for more sanctions on Iran. Some went even further, saying President George W. Bush has cooked the books over Iran like what he did for Iraq. According to some media outlets, the report confirms Iran is not in pursuit of what Washington brands as nuclear ambitions. The report has seen Democrats calling for a leap in diplomatic efforts in dealing with Iran. China, for its part, has held telephone conversations with the EU and the US as part of its Iran diplomacy. Back home, Foreign Ministry spokesman Mohammad Ali Hosseini said the new U.S. report can send Washington's European allies a good message on Iran's civilian nuclear program. He added that Europeans can adopt a reasonable and rational strategy instead of following its current biased and unreal policy on Iran. Hosseini noted, quote, "The report indicates Iran's performance and the findings of the IAEA confirm non-diversion of Iran's nuclear activities." Government spokesman Ghulam Hossein Elham said U.S. claims about Iran's peaceful nuclear activities were mere lies, stressing that they should pay the price for their accusations.
نبدأ مدارنا بالقمة الخليجية 28 حيث التقى صاحب
President of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, met with the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Mohammed Ahmedinajad. This news comes as the two leaders met on the sidelines of the 28th Annual Arab Gulf Cooperation Council Summit underway in the Qatari capital of Doha. This is the first time an Iranian president attended a summit for the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC. Security and stability in the Arab Gulf, as well as the Iranian nuclear program, are among the leading topics being discussed at the Doha summit. During last year's summit in Riyadh, the GCC adopted a resolution calling for a study on the use of civilian nuclear energy based on international standards.
تبنت قراراً بإجراء دراسة مشتركة حول استخدامات دول المجلس للطاقة النووية للأغراض السلمية وفق المعايير الدولية.
Amid susceptible and complicated conditions in the Gulf region, the GCC held its 28th annual meeting in Doha. This news comes as the security situation in Iraq continues to deteriorate and the Iranian nuclear crisis continues to escalate. It also comes amidst accelerating and relentless political developments on the Palestinian, Lebanese, and Sudanese fronts. In addition, the GCC plans to discuss several other regional issues, including the formation of a Gulf common market and the possible use of a unified currency system. However, the GCC will not discuss at this meeting a proposal to change the value of Gulf currencies in relation to the US dollar.
During this summit, we will discuss several political, economic, and security issues. We hope to adopt resolutions that will help our people attain their goals and ambitions.
Meanwhile, the president of the Republic of Iran, Ahmedinajad, who is currently a guest at the Doha summit, confirmed that this meeting is the beginning of a new era of cooperation in the Gulf region. In addition, Ahmedinajad called for regional unity and cooperation, which are not based on foreign intervention. He said that they should work together in order to transform the region into a place of peace, tolerance, and love. In a speech, and without mentioning his country's nuclear program, Ahmedinajad called on the Gulf states to strengthen their economic cooperation organization and open their markets to Iranian investments. Ahmedinajad also urged the Gulf states to create regional free trade zones and grant visa-free entries to member countries.
We must exert tremendous efforts to make the region free of crisis and tension. We must also prevent foreign intervention in the region and stop the export of chaos there. In order to develop our security cooperation, we urge you to help finalize our joint security agreement and form the proposed security cooperation organization.
The Gulf leaders will discuss behind closed doors several important issues amidst Arab and international speculation. The GCC has managed to maintain a moderate policy in its relationship at the regional and international levels. Meanwhile, leaders of the Arab Gulf states believe that this summit is the beginning of an important initiative in the Gulf region, where potential and capability are not very hard to find.
Lebanon's feuding political leaders are edging closer to agreement on a new president. Army Chief General Michel Suleiman is the man favoured by both Western-backed ruling majority and the Hezbollah-backed opposition. But as Zaina Khoda reports from Beirut, there are other conditions that must be satisfied ahead of a 7th session to resolve that issue, scheduled for Friday.
The head of Lebanon's army, General Michel Suleiman, seems to be on his way to becoming the country's new president. Weeks ago, there was no support for him from the pro-government camp, nor was there support for a constitutional amendment to allow the election of an army chief. What changed?
Syria and the United States agreed to de-escalate the situation in Lebanon, at least for the time being, while they work on a comprehensive regional deal. What happens in Iraq is linked to Lebanon. The relative lull in violence there was the result of an agreement among regional powers.
A broader regional conflict is being played out in Lebanon. In simple terms, the government is backed by the United States. The opposition gets support from Syria and Iran.
Rival Lebanese leaders also realized they had little to gain from chaos. In January, this university campus became a battleground when clashes erupted between supporters of opposing camps. 4 people were killed. The violence was quickly contained, but it served as an example of what could go wrong in the absence of political stability.
The constitutional deadline to elect a president passed on November the 24th, but the opposition and pro-government camps refrained from taking unilateral decisions as they had previously threatened. Instead, they decided to contain rather than escalate their differences while they tried to find a consensus candidate.
Chaos wouldn't benefit the government, the US and Europe. They know Hezbollah-led opposition would be able to take control of the country. Instability would make Lebanon fertile ground for Al-Qaeda. What would happen to the UN forces in the south?
Agreeing on a consensus candidate may have ended the presidential vacuum, but is the crisis over? The opposition wants a package deal, an accord that includes the presidency, a new government, and a new prime minister, as well as a hand in deciding on who administers state and security institutions. These issues are dominating discussions just days before Friday's scheduled election in Parliament. Another session, another possible postponement. But most observers believe a package deal is in the making, one that will put an end to the year-long political crisis, at least for the immediate future. Zana Khudr, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
أعلن متحدث باسم السفارة البريطانية في الخرطوم.
A spokesman for the British Embassy in Khartoum announced that the detained British teacher in the Sudan, Julian Gibbons, has been released and transferred to the embassy. Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir issued a pardon during a meeting with 2 Muslim members of the British House of Lords.
رغم موجة الاستنكار والسخط التي أثرتها توصية المعلمة.
Despite the wave of condemnations and anger that were provoked by a British teacher, Julianne Gibbons, having her students in the Sudan named their teddy bear Muhammad, it appears that the Sudanese government was more receptive to British mediation by 2 Muslim members of the British House of Lords following the tensions over Darfur.
We are feeling proud. We hope that Britain can continue to aid Sudan and that what has happened will not affect the relations between the 2 countries. I believe that these relations will be settled.
Baroness Saida Warsi read a statement made by Gibbons to the press in which she expresses her high respect for Islam. She said that she did not have any intention to harm or defame anyone. The step taken by Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir to pardon British teacher Gibbons and release her to the British Embassy was met with relief by officials in London. The British Prime Minister Gordon Brown said that this was a victory for common sense.
Common sense has prevailed. She will be released into the care of our embassy in Khartoum after what must have been a difficult ordeal.
In Britain's view, common sense has prevailed. A similar position was taken by France, which put pressure for the release of European citizens who tried to kidnap children and transfer them through Chad. It doesn't matter whether the reasons were religious or humanitarian. However, if the issue was linked to a historical event like the Holocaust, then the West would not forgive it and common sense would not prevail. On the second day of his visit to Algeria, the French President Nicolas Sarkozy signed $7 billion worth of economic deals with his Algerian counterpart, Abdelaziz Bouteflika. In addition, the 2 leaders signed a partnership agreement in the field of civilian nuclear energy. Although the purpose of the visit was merely economic, it has stirred historical emotions which the French president tried to diffuse. In a statement he issued upon his arrival in Algeria, Sarkozy described colonization as an oppressive system that violates the principles of the Republic of France. Saeed Salam reports.
Throughout history, the French-Algerian relationship has been described as fragile and burdened by mutual interests. Meanwhile, the Algerian president Abdelaziz Bouteflika was determined to open a new era in his country's relationship with Paris. This news comes as the French President Sarkozy embarked yesterday on a visit to Algeria. The 2 leaders announced that the visit was merely economic, despite the historical sentiment it generated in the past few days. Today, the 2 leaders signed economic deals in the amount of €5 billion. The deals included a plan to build tramways, railroads, dams, and petrochemical and power plants. In addition, the 2 leaders signed a cooperation agreement in the fields of civilian nuclear energy. The deals will likely strengthen trade cooperation between Algeria and France, especially considering that France is the largest investing country in Algeria outside the fields of oil and gas. The total joint investments between France and Algeria have reached nearly $8 billion in 2006. In addition, Algeria supplied in 2005 nearly 16% of France's need of natural gas and 6% of its need of oil. These numbers are rather attractive, not only in the economic terms, but also on the board of mutual interests. However, will Sarkozy and Bouteflika be able to use these numbers to overcome the historical sentiment between the two nations?
The Pakistani opposition parties have almost reached a consensus on whether or not they will participate in the general elections. The main opposition leaders, the two former prime ministers, Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif, said that they would only participate in the elections if they were legitimate. They are still talking with other opposition parties. More details from Mayum Khadr in Islamabad.
The Pakistani opposition is about to reach a consensus on taking a united position towards the general elections. The democratic movement, which is comprised of 32 parties, including the party of Nawaz Sharif and other Islamic parties, are considering the possibility of working with the leader of the People's Party, Benazir Bhutto. This comes as supporters of Nawaz Sharif said that the elections committee's decision to reject the nomination of their leader was politically motivated.
It was expected, especially after the election committee rejected the nomination of Nawaz Sharif, the head of the Pakistan Muslim League.
Sharif came to convince Bhutto to boycott the elections, but she convinced him to work together in the elections if they are conducted in a legitimate manner.
I made a charter of demands to ensure that the elections will be free and legitimate. If the Pakistani government does not respond to these demands, which will be specified by the committee that has already been formed, then all of us will boycott the elections.
Sharif, Bhutto and the Islamic parties have almost reached a united position on whether they will or not participate in the elections. The only opposition party that decided not to join in is the party of Imran Khan, who said that the participation in the elections would be a betrayal to the ousted judges who fought to ensure that the judicial system in the country stays independent. The opposition parties who agreed on taking a united position towards the elections have put President Pervez Musharraf in an awkward position. This comes at a time when his party is in a state of disarray, which may affect its ability to function in what looks like to be highly contested elections. Mayub Khadr, Dubai Television, Islamabad.
A new suicide attack took place in the Afghan capital of Kabul, killing 10 civilian passengers who were in a small bus near the explosion. This time, the target was a NATO convoy near Kabul airport. The suicide bomber drove his car into the convoy, hitting 2 NATO vehicles, but there were no reported injuries amongst the NATO forces.
Occupying the Egyptian and Arab public opinion is the tragedy of an 11-year-old girl who was raped and gave birth to a little girl. The details of this story are with our correspondent in Egypt, Muna Ashmawi.
إنها أصغر أم في العالم.
Hind is the youngest mother in the world. She is still in elementary school. She went to school to pick up her brother from the club and didn't find him. Instead, she found a praying wolf awaiting her. He raped her and left her, impregnating her with a daughter, Mina Tula, now 4 months old. Hind's story stirred up reactions from the Egyptian and Arab public, especially after the culprit was found innocent based on DNA analysis. However, there are many strange contradictions in this case.
I went to the club to pick my brother up, but I didn't find him there. The man met me at the door on my way out, and no matter which direction I went, he was in front of me. He took out a knife and put it at my side, so I didn't scream because I was scared of the knife. He walked me outside of the club and took me to a neighborhood I'd never been to before. He forced me into a building I'd never been to before. He used a key for the building door and another key for the apartment upstairs. There was a wooden couch. He laid me on it and raped me. After that, he punched me in my stomach and my back and said that I better not tell my mother or my father anything. He said that he knew I went to school at 6 a.m., and if I said anything, he'd come for me then, and my parents would never know what happened to me. This made me afraid of saying anything to my parents.
Hind's father, Ustam Muhammad, works as a carver. He answered our questions about the many rumors that surround his daughter's case. The father wants to appeal the case, undermining the verdict that freed the offender. Rumors played an important role in the case and the evidence provided by the fertility expert. Perhaps the most important of these rumors is the skepticism about Hind's real age and whether she is in fact her father's daughter.
I want to know how he was found innocent. They say, which is what I heard from the lawyer, that there were contradictory statements and there were rumors like what you heard. Anyway, I have my doubts about the accuracy of the test results. I myself doubt them because there are rumors I heard, particularly that someone from forensic medicine was bribed. I say this publicly because I'm not afraid. Even if I'm put to death, I'm not afraid.
Hind's father said there was foul play in the forensic medical checkup, which is the evidence he will be basing his appeal on. Meanwhile, Hind is in a state of denial, often feeling that her daughter, Minatullah, is no more than her sister. She refuses to breastfeed or take care of her daughter, letting Mina's grandmother take care of the baby's needs.
I treat her like my sister. I play with her when I come back from school, stuff like that.
How about when you breastfeed her?
I don't breastfeed her anymore.
Why not?
She doesn't take it.
When you went back to school after giving birth to Mina, what happened?
They bothered me a little bit at first, but then they stopped completely.
Hind's mother is the one who takes care of the baby, dressing her and cleaning up after her. Hind hardly handles her child. She plays with her when she comes back from school and sits with her a bit, but no more than that. She does not comprehend it. She actually hated the baby at first, but I told her that she has to accept the reality. I told her, this is your daughter, a part of you, and you are responsible for her. But don't worry, your mother will take care of your daughter and you can go to school and continue your life normally until we find a solution to this problem.
Fate was harsh on Hind, taking away her innocent childhood and young virginity. Her newborn waits for the appeal and the time when she will get a birth certificate with the name of the father on it. And Hind is left with her scars and pain, which can neither be healed by the passing of time nor forgiven or forgotten.
I don't like boys anymore, not at all. I hate men.
A girl no older than 11 years old becomes a mother to a baby girl. In this tragic story, the offender runs free, while Hind pays the price for a crime she did not commit. Muna Ashmawi, New TV, Cairo.
What are you giving this holiday season? Is it this? Or this? Or maybe this? This year, why not make a change? And give your friends and family the world. Now it's easy and meaningful to give the gift of Link TV. Just go to linktv.org or call 1-866-485-8848 to honor those you care about with a tax-deductible gift in their name to Link TV. Choose from one of 3 designs and have a personalized holiday card sent to everyone on your list. Letting your loved ones know you've made them official sponsors of Television Without Borders. This holiday season, remember peace on Earth is possible when we see the world without borders. Happy holidays from Link TV. And don't forget, send your card today.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.